Well, good morning, folks. Welcome back to Three's In. If you're new to the community, I'm glad to see you. Grab a cup of coffee. I'm going to talk today a little bit about Vance maintenance from the period 1975 through 1978. Now, I showed up at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, America in January 1975, and I left in November 1978. And during that period, I had numerous opportunities to work with our maintenance folks, and I just loved each and every one of them. They were great folks during that period, probably still are today. But we had a unique contract from the Northrop Corporation while I was there. It was 29 pages in length. Now, can you imagine that? 29 pages to run a lot of the facilities around Vance, to include maintenance. Seeds and weeds was in there, logistics, I think the clubs, the officers and the NCO clubs were in there, and so forth. But I dealt mostly with the maintenance folks in that vein. A couple of the personalities I worked with out on the flight line was Frenchie and Randy and Sam, to mention just three of them that come to the top of my mind. Just great crew chiefs. In the engine shop, I later learned, after I became the chief of safety, that the average experience was 14 years. Now, that's unheard of on a normal Air Force base. 14 years experience in the engine shop, and they kept those motors tuned. I mean, they were just great to operate. They had, at one time, fathers and sons working together on J-85 engines. Now, that was remarkable to me. The one anomaly I did see one time, I wanted to go out to the engine test cell while they were trimming a J-85. And they usually trim those at night because it was cooler. So I was in flight safety. Actually, I was the chief of the safety division at that time. So I stayed late and drove out there, probably at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And they had this guy running the test cell, and this guy I don't think was quite right. I just don't think he was quite right. But at any rate, he had this J-85 tuned up, and behind a real thick glass, he could sit there and watch the engine, and he had a set of instruments. He could tune the engine as he was working on it, fine-tune it, if you will. So I walked in there, and he says, "You want to see something kind of neat?" And I said, "Well, I've never trusted when people have said that, because I never know where it's going to go. Anyway, why not?" Well, at that time, we were limited, I think, to 2,950 pounds of thrust in afterburner in the J-85. And he had a gauge that showed what the engine was producing at any given time. So he fires the engine up and then starts it through. And like I said, he could tweak it with these controls that he had inside his control room. So he takes this one, he starts tuning it up, and I'm watching the EGT a little bit, but I'm watching the amount of thrust coming out of that engine, and it was up around 4,000 pounds. He's burning the hell out of that damn thing, and I'm thinking, holy crap, I said, cut it off. You can't do that. I mean, I know it looks cool, but that engine's not designed to operate cranking out 4,000 pounds of thrust. Anyway, he drew it back down, and I just, that really bothered me, because I might be riding on that engine. So as we said goodnight and so forth, I kind of took another look at him, and he reminded me of one of those banjo players sitting on the bridge in Deliverance. And I wasn't comfortable with that. So the chief of maintenance was a friend of mine at that time. So I went over to his office early the next morning. He and I had a little quiet come to Jesus meeting. We used to call those non-conversations, where you could go in with a trusted individual and have a non-conversation, put it in his lap, and be done with it. And that's kind of what I did. One of the other things that I saw when I was at Vance that really was fascinating to me was they had a crew chief one day out on a flight line that didn't want to change a tire that came back with red tread. Try saying that fast. red tread on it. Now, once we got down to the red tread, that was a no-brainer. You just jack the airplane up, take the wheel off, put the new wheel back on, and away you go. Well, this knucklehead took a ballpoint pen and colored the red tread. The thing is, just to show you what a dumbass this guy was, he used a blue ballpoint pen, and our tires are black. So on a walk around, it didn't take the pilot much to discover that. Give me a break. You know, would it have blown? Probably not. But we just don't do things like that. The kid wrote it up. The instructor or the pilot wrote it up as he should have done. And when it worked its way up through maintenance and they saw it, they fired that crew chief right on the spot. They didn't argue with him. They just fired him. And it came back to, we have a 29-page contract with Northrop to comply with Air Force regulations with respect, and manuals with respect to aircraft maintenance. And we're not going to jeopardize it by stunts like this. This kid says, well, you leave me no course but to go to the union. And they said, well, go ahead. You know, they're waiting for you. We've already briefed them. Kid went to the union and they said, sorry, you chose not to comply with the contract or with the maintenance, the manuals. See ya. And he was gone. So it was that spirit that we had at Vance that really was fun to work with those people. And to this day, thoughts of them just elicit very fond memories in my heart. The contract today, I suspect, is a lot larger than 29 pages. And I suspect it's due to lawyers. Lawyers. Anyway, those are interchangeable sometimes. And that's kind of a shame because, and I understand why, but the spirit of that period, I am so glad I served during that period with those people at Vance. So with that, to the civilian side of the house at Vance, I salute you folks. I am just thrilled to have worked with you. And with that, this is Bobo checking base gear stop.